some American bands barely made a dent on the U.S. charts. But overseas, they were selling out arenas, topping charts, and building fan bases that put their stateside numbers to shame.
We're looking at the U.S. rock bands who became global stars, just not at home. Some will surprise you, and others you probably never heard of. They may have been born in the USA, but they struck a chord internationally.
Today, we're shining the spotlight on American bands that found massive success overseas, whether it was Europe, Asia, or South America. These bands were consistently packing out venues and selling albums, just not in the U.S.
Some of these bands may have started out big in America, but fizzled out. But then they found long-term success outside the country, and many still tour internationally, but with very little buzz in the U.S. Let's start with the Runaways, obviously. They were huge in Japan, where they were treated like glam rock royalty. Here's some footage of them in Tokyo. Joan Jett, Lita Ford, and the girls really rocked.
Here's Mr. Big, a U.S. radio one-hit wonder, but they never stopped being stadium level in Japan and Southeast Asia. Like this YouTube video, live in Tokyo, where the crowd literally sings every guitar solo. It's incredible.
You know, I heard Bruce Cockburn like Mr. Big a lot. Manowar, barely a blip in the US, but God's a power metal in Germany and Italy. A solid rock band with many German fans owning every Manowar album on vinyl. They are huge over there. And like Spinal Tap, they've had many drummers.
Have they really?
They did. They've had at least 4.
Here's W.A.S.P. Wild stage shows, band albums, but way bigger in Europe, especially Eastern Europe. And here's a video of them playing a Czech festival with thousands of fists in the air. Pyro going off, but not huge in the U.S. thanks to Dipper Gore and the PMRC.
Nice. From my hometown of Philadelphia, the Hooters. Some U.S. radio love with their first album, getting singles from All You Zombies, Day by Day, and We Dance. They also played Live Aid. But Europe, holy cow, years of touring over there included playing the Wall concert in Berlin in 1990. They had hits with Satellite in 1987 and continued European success with Out of the Body. You know, they were one of those bands where I figured locally they're going to kick ass Philadelphia, New York, you know, where they're from.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that they, you know, when they started having a few national hits on their first album, 3 of them, I was like, wow, that's a great success story. But the fact that they really had a career as a band overseas in Europe, that shocks the hell out of me. It surprises me.
How about Richie Kotzen? He's a guitar legend in Japan, Brazil, and Europe, but criminally underrated in the U.S. Look at this Japanese guitar critic video. The crowd knows every lick, every solo. He was just like their Jeff Beck.
How about Toto? Big hits in the U.S. in the late 70s and early 80s, but since then they've had continued airplay and sales in Germany, Switzerland, and Sweden, with guitarist Steve Lukather as the constant. You know, when they started becoming a band, I thought, oh, good for those guys. They're all talented. And they all are talented. Jeff Porcaro on drums, Steve Lukather. Absolutely talented. Yeah. But this is one of those examples to me where the sum is less than the parts.
Right.
You know?
Kings of Leon. It took years for the band to break in the U.S., but they were headlining Glastonbury long before American radio noticed. This UK festival YouTube video shows how they win on a totally different level outside of America.
The Flamin' Groovies, garage legends, ignored in the U.S., but loved in Europe. Y&T. This may come as a surprise to you. They've released 12 studio albums, most of which have charted in Sweden and Denmark. And then, my favorite honorable mention, Molly Hatchet. Huge in Germany and Scandinavia long after their U.S. charts. Dave Lubeck, near the end of his life, played his blistering guitar from a wheelchair. And Dave Holland was the last original member in the band, passed in 2020. But the band still tours to this day, and a new set of band members keeps the spirit alive.
And for my honorable mentions, the Dictators. Proto-punk that found appreciation in Europe before the U.S. Quicksilver Messenger Service, psychedelic rockers that I actually like, but they got more love in Eastern Europe. Warrior Soul, almost unknown in the United States, but built a cult following in the UK.
There's something fascinating about how music travels. Some of these bands found more love outside their home country, which just goes to show how unpredictable the music industry can be. Sometimes, you gotta leave home to get heard.
And for every band that made it big overseas, there are others that had huge success in the U.S. that never cracked the international market. Think about Creed, Hootie and the Blowfish, or even the Dave Matthews Band. Massive here in the U.S., but barely noticed abroad.
Thanks for watching, folks. And now we want to hear from you. What American bands do you think were bigger outside the U.S. than they ever were here?
Drop your picks in the comments and check out our companion playlist full of tracks from today's featured bands so you can hear what the rest of the world was already listening to.
If you enjoyed this show, take a second and hit that like button. It helps others.
Oh, hold on a minute. I ran out of breath there, Lair.
Holy crap.
Holy crap. Somebody bring me the oxygen. Take me all the way. Is that Rosanna? That's the song they did?
Yeah, it's just nauseating. Just, you got all this talent in that band, and they go and make soft fucking pussy rock.
Yes, they did.